Good morning to you. It's Daybreak, I-Fiber One News Radio. I'm Jeff Slakey at 8:43. We are focusing on Shelton, brought to you by our community credit union. And I got two great guests in studio today. City Manager Ryan Wheaton and Public Works Director Craig Gregory. Morning, guys.
Morning. Morning.
Good to see you both here. And Craig, we'll start with you. I think we had scheduled to have you on last week to talk about this. Some changes were needed to be made. City of Shelton awarded 2 TIB grants for upcoming infrastructure improvement projects. This is a big deal for the community. Tell us a little bit about this, how these grants work, the process behind them, and then the eventual awarding of this money.
So 2 different projects. Turner Street will be repaved. We asked for the entire section of Turner Street from 1st all the way to 16th. Mm-hmm. TIB suggests that you break projects up into segments under that certain program that we applied for, which was the Arterial Preservation Program. And they only awarded the section between 7th and 16th, so we are going to move forward with that and also maybe extend the project down to Angleside Road because that section is not in very good shape, but the rest of the hill section's in pretty decent shape. So we'll be moving forward with that in the spring. The real big one was the Downtown Connector Project, which we were awarded $3.3 million for, and that is going to be a reshaping and revitalization of Alder Street all the way from 1st to the top of the hill at C Street where Skipworth is located. But yeah, the process for that, staff spent a lot of time on that, and we have heard some comments from that process and the 2 grants that we did receive. And I think what the biggest thing to get out there is that overall process. You have to define a project through TIB, whoever the funding source is. In this case, it was TIB that we were focusing on. But one requirement from them is that your project is on a federal aid route, which we have quite a few inside of Shelton. I think we have around 11 roadways that are federally defined routes. So it's not like you can just go ask for money for a couple of gravel roads or residential streets. They have to be these federal routes that are defined and that are numbered through the feds. So that is one requirement. So we took a look at that and figured out what the top priority was for not only us, but internally for maintenance, but also what would affect the community. What does the community want? So after we defined what the projects were that we were going to take a look at, it was bringing out the TIB engineers and taking a look at the project. And they have a scoring system based out of 100 points that you score on and compete with other communities. So then what we did was we took a look at how do we score for this? How do we really get the most points that we can possibly get? And that project down on Alder Street first started out between 1st and 7th Street, and it didn't score very well. It was lacking in a few spots that really drove the points. So we took a look at it and expanded it all the way up the hill from 7th to C Street and added that section on and got a much better result as far as scoring, and obviously it ended up working out for us. But it's not just a process that you go through and you say, hey, let's just fill out an application and send it in. We started working on this back in, I think it was December of last year, when we started really looking at this and saying, what do we need to do? And we got through the 10% design that you have to. It's a requirement for the application. So we got through the 10% design and took a look at that and what that project would look like. And ultimately, staff ended up doing a very good job with that application and figuring out how to get the most points, and ended up getting awarded that $3.3 million. So that was outstanding. What
were some of the things that helped boost the scores? Is it ADA accessibility or walkability, or?
That's a big driver, walkability. So the 10-foot sidewalk on the south side of that project was a big driver. That's a multi-use path is what we ended up calling it. So not only for pedestrians, but bicyclists can use that also. Another was just overall streetscape and the complete streets aspect of it. So traffic calming, slowing traffic down, lighting was a big one, and then partnering with not only PUD, but also Mason Transit really helped us also.
Yeah, so
with that.
You got the 70% of the cost through the grant, so there's 30% left over, and that is going to be, as it looks here, spread around between the stormwater utility, the benefit district, the impact fee funds, and then those partnerships. So that's a considerable less chunk of change that the city's going to have to put out, as well as with the help from those other folks.
Yes, certainly, and that was one aspect that when it went into planning, reaching out and rekindling those partnerships that I think have been lacking in the past, that we have finally gotten back to working with other agencies in the area and getting that help from PUD and Mason Transit Authority, and also Mason Conservation District has just come on board with us, and they're going to do some storm work for us also as far as design goes. So those three partnerships are really beneficial to us as far as moving forward with these grants and projects in the future.
It was about a month ago or so. We had a community forum down at the Civic Center where people were able to see this project and kind of see the PowerPoint presentation. Is that kind of what you send to the grant writing process so they can look, and is that what they're looking at as well, what you showed the city? Here's what we think it wants to look like. Here's where the enhanced longer area sidewalks are, the ADA rules like that?
That's exactly what was sent to TIB, was that presentation that we put out. That was the 10% design. Some of that stuff has changed slightly. We're getting 50% design back to us next week, so we'll take a look at that and see what that looks like. But yes, that is what Transportation Improvement Board got, was that 10% design and the application.
Craig mentioned how much his staff worked, but it really can't be underscored that this project a year ago, we talked about it. This wasn't a possibility for us to do. We would have never been able to get this done without the work that he and his team did. The TIB process allowed us to do something that we actually laughed about when we talked about what project would be best for the community. There was no chance we could do this. And I think one of the things that his team has seen that we aren't happy with participating in these grant processes anymore. We expect to win when we put things forward. And Craig and his team have brought what was done in the field to the engineering and the administrative level. And not that we are going to expect this every year, but we expect to get these grants and do large beneficial projects on a regular basis from this point.
Once you get a funding like this, are you looked at more favorably for the grant process when it comes to future projects? You say, well, I know we worked with the city of Shelton last year, and they had that whole workup, and we saw the program, and everything looked right. We're going to continue on with that, or is it a case-by-case?
It's really a case-by-case. And it really comes down to how much work and the effort that you put into those to really submit a complete application and really make sure your project is a good project moving forward.
Are you competing with cities of the same size, or is it all cities?
We are competing with the West region for Transportation Improvement Board, which includes basically Thurston County moving west and north. So basically from Thurston County, including Olympia, Lacey, Tumwater. One of the large projects that we were competing with also got funded, which was a road project. It's about a $10 million project out of Tumwater that TIB funded about $5 million of. We knew we were up against a beast there, and it scored very well. So we knew that we had our challenges, but luckily both of those got funded. But yeah, from Olympia, basically west out to the coast, and then north from Olympia out to like Port Angeles is our area. So you're competing with all of those other cities.
And everybody gets these notifications. Everybody knows the money's there.
Correct. And one thing I think that we have an advantage over most cities is our transportation benefit district money, that we have the match money. We're using the people's money. They voted to improve our streets.
Yeah.
And hopefully we can go and get that done and utilize their dollars, their tax dollars, to the best way and match those with outside funds, either federal funds or Transportation Improvement Board state funds, and not just use the taxpayer money, but actually benefit that with some kind of match, so that we can increase. In this case, it was 70%.
Nice.
To 30% ours. So
yeah, you mentioned
the easy part was getting the grant. Once you got it, now the real work starts.
We have figured that out also, moving forward with this, and Ryan and I have had quite a few conversations about staffing levels and how do we get this done. We've got a fairly skeleton crew right now, and yes, the easy part is behind us. Now it's going out and actually getting those constructed and getting that project done in a timely fashion.
Yeah, the citizens of Shelton voted on that transportation benefit district. They also recently voted on the expansion for the city commission to move to a council. So, Ryan, I'll bring you in now on this one. This is an exciting time for the city of Shelton, and kind of an unknown time as we move forward on this one. We're going to have some open availabilities for people to throw their hats in the rings. Talk to me a little bit about the process, how it's going.
So it is an unknown time. It's getting a little less unknown every day because we are quickly researching and finding out as much information. I just left a meeting with the city attorney and our city clerk. They're both working very hard, working with the state and also with the county auditor, who's been phenomenal in helping us get this thing off the ground. On Monday, we're going to bring forward, I think, 3 or 4 decision points for the commission. We briefed the last 2 weeks in this thing, like I mentioned, since it looked like the election was going to be over after the first week.
Yeah.
We really started digging in, and the certain things have been decided. They're done by statute, determining what positions are going to be open. It's not one field running for top 4. It's going to be specific positions that are open, and people will register and file for those positions.
Oh, I see.
On Monday, we are moving forward information about those positions, what type of positions those will be, whether they're at-large, district, or a combination of both. That'll be a decision point that'll need to be made. Council member salary will be discussed as well. We briefed on that. We want to have all the information that somebody would need to know before the register decided before the December 15th, or really for us the December 11th deadline, where we need to get a resolution passed to put something on the ballot. So they'll discuss the at-large district question, salary question, benefits, and then they'll also look at some meeting times. I think we got an agreement in principle, but we'll bring that forward to make it official, about scaling back the meeting requirements so that people that have full-time jobs may be able to attend and participate in the future council when that starts. So we're looking, if all goes according to what we discussed on Monday and the commission wants to move ahead with the first potential election date, we would have, looks like, the resolution to the county on December 11th. They would then open up a 3-day filing period, I believe the week of the 19th. And then after that, once people are in, they're in, because it's a short 3-day filing period. Can't remove and you can't switch positions. So once you're in, you're in. The primary would be February 13th, and then I'm going to get the date wrong. I believe that April, that's a 17 calendar.
calendar.
I think April 23rd, April 23rd or 24th is the, whatever that Tuesday is the primary date, or excuse me, the general date. So looking forward to moving forward and getting those questions answered. We're getting a lot of calls at the city and trying to get them answered as soon as we can.
Are these conversations the current commission will be making decisions on? Are you bringing Commission-elect Dorsey in on these, or is that for another time?
That is for another time. He's been in this week, and we'll provide him with briefing materials just so he's kind of up to speed, and I expect that he'll be at the meetings. But in terms of the actual answering of the questions that need to be answered by December 11th, that will be handled by the current commissioners.
Very nice. Anything else, guys? You guys doing Public Works in the parade Saturday?
The guys are out there, so yeah, do give them a break. They're out there on Railroad Avenue right now putting up some Christmas lights and getting ready, doing some sidewalk grinding and some sweeping and cleaning up. So they should be ready by Friday afternoon.
Very nice. It's going to be a lot of fun. Yeah. Always good. Well, good to see you guys.
Thanks.